Yeah, you know, water in the winter time is probably less than a foot deep. In the summer, it's about 3 feet deep here. And then whenever you suck, um, put a straw down in the ground and then start sucking in on it, you get this cone of depression, it's called. And so over there, we're actually causing this little cone of depression. So we actually went down 13 feet and we're sucking from the bottom 3 feet of that. And so we're 10 feet down essentially. And last year we were able to run it through the entire year and not run out of water. So,
and was that clear down that deep, or was that still murky? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, no, that's still full of our nutrient-rich water. And
so we're fertilizing at the same time we're watering with ancient fertilizer. Did you say 80 years? The farm was here?
Sure, yeah.
The dairy farm? 80 years. Wow.
80 years of composted manure and
Yeah. And
urea.
in those days they didn't use chemicals.
Yeah.
So
I have a question
so
about
this year-
newly planted crops. So that if a team plants a new crop, they have to set up some kind of schedule themselves to keep that watered until
this
this.
gets on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So-
goes with any crop,
Yeah.
any seedling, anything that you put in the ground. If you put seeds in and these propagation sprinklers aren't on it, you need to come every day and water them.
Or can we contact you to get the propagation sprayers on it?
Yeah.
Or?
So send an email to the water team and we'll try to get it. Now that brings up another point. You know, if you look at a beautiful row of beets over there, you see 45 feet of beets in 4 straight beautiful lines. That's like perfect. That's what a farmer does, you know. He goes out and he basically puts in a beautiful row, and you can set up one system and it's efficient. So planting like 4 feet of a row and then putting irrigation on 4 feet of a row is it's not efficient. You know, it takes us more effort to put the propagation and the drip tape on 4 feet of a row, and you know. So what I'm saying is, if you're going, you know, try to plan whenever you're going to plant or put seeds in that you at least put in a half of a row, not a quarter of a row.
In a straight line.
In a straight line. Well, I don't care about the straight line. That's a beautiful row. It's like I took a picture of that one.
Jen, I had a question about the drip tape when we're working around it. Is it pretty sensitive to clogging? Do we have to be careful to keep the dirt off of it, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we should be careful with it. It did get thrown around quite a bit this winter. And we did get some clogging and stuff, and some of it got buried and what have you. So I think next year we're going to, in the winter time, maybe make some PVC rolls that will actually roll them up and have them sitting here, so that they'll
Instead of folding them.
instead of folding them.
We did try rolling some on 3-gallon nursery pots, but the wind just blew them. And so they came unrolled. So we need something that we can actually stake it down, because it, believe it or not, gets a little windy here.
As far as working on them, as weeding and planting, it would be best if you just like pick it up and set it on the row, and then do your weeding and planting, and then whenever you're done, set it back. Don't just, I noticed some rows where people planted their plants and then just left the drip tape in a big pile. Well, your plants aren't getting watered if it's sitting in a big pile, you know. It's like that doesn't work. So it's just as much. This stuff's really easy to work with, and
I lift mine from the end and just take it out at an angle, so the whole bed is free while I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and then just from the end, just pick it up and put it back in a straight line.
That way you don't kink it either, because every time you kink it, it puts more stress on it. And wear.
but just to be careful in general.
And the holes are on the bottom?
The holes are on top, and the blue strut goes up.
Okay, did everybody hear that? Blue stripe up.
Stripe up.
Blue stripe up.
Just look at another line. So the idea here is that, you know, this year we're having a lot of work again to get it in. It's not a lot of work, but we're having to install it. Next year, whenever we come here, these lines will be here, and as long as we put our rows back in the same place, it'll just be a matter of, weed a row and till it and plant it and unwind our drip tape on it, and it'll be the right length, and everything will be all set up. That's what we're shooting for.
What's the projected lifespan of the drip tape?
We're 3 to 5 years is commercially what they get out of it.
I've had mine for 5 and it's still fine.
This is 4 cents a foot. So the cost compared to soaker hoses is you know, pennies on the dollar compared to what we used to spend on soaker hoses. Soaker hoses we could not keep from clogging because of the algae that built up in the tank in the summer sun. So we've replaced soaker hoses every other year.
Every 2 to 3 years, yeah, just depending on. And some of them, you get them 1 year, and we had high algae bloom, and then we would have to replace them the next.
What about filters on the system?
Filters, yeah. So last year we installed some high-tech filters. We have a $250 filter that filters the cistern water that seems to be taking care of the. That's a real good question. Seems to be taking care of the algae, but what occurs, which occurred, if you think about a couple weeks ago, you started to notice no pressure at the hose. Anybody notice that? It's like, tell me, I didn't know that. I was busy out here working on stuff. The filter was clogged, and hence, you know, you turned on one hose, it was kind of just dribble. You turned on 2 hoses, and like, holy cow! It's like, yeah. So let me know. The filter was clogged, and we were only getting about a hose worth, not even a hose worth of water out here from that filter, from that pump. Whenever the filter is clean, we get about 3 hoses worth. We get about 15 gallons a minute out of that pump.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Again, what's the relationship of that pump to that pump over there?
Right now, the whole garden's working off of the cistern. We have a bad pump over here, and we're.
It's on order.
It's on order, and we'll be replacing it next week, in 2 weeks from now.
So that is the sand point.
That's a sand point, and think of that as producing 1 hose worth. So as long as there's 1 hose on, that's pumping. As soon as somebody comes out and turns a second hose on, you're pumping out of the cistern tank also. So both pumps are feeding into the same system at the same time. Wow. So in theory, clean filters, 2 pumps running, you have 4 hoses worth of water. So, you know, people, as long as they're not on the same hose stand, we could have 4 hoses going at once.
Do you think we're going to go through a pump a year?
That pump was 20 years old, and it sat outside for 10 years and wasn't started, and that was the problem. It got all corroded, and it's the corrosion.
And it was donated.
And it was donated.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, got a year out of it.
But it was a good proving, you know, it would have been hard for us to expend that amount of money to say, is this going to work? Because that Sandpoint well is the 4th attempt at a Sandpoint well on this property. So there was
In 10 years.
In over 10 years, because there was one tried, whenever it first was founded, they tried to put one in, so that was a lot even earlier. Other questions?
Yeah, I would like the water team to please go over to Dan so everybody knows who they are. Where'd Mick go?
He's on the phone.
He's on the phone. Okay, so Carl, yeah, there you go. Do a water dance. So Carl, Mick, and Dan are our water team. If you,
Water's hand sign.
Nice.
there you go.
Also is whatever.
Whatever water. All right,
And there's 3 of you.
there are.
3.
The Three Stooges. Oh, I mean.